Hello, my name is Leslie Strayskuth, and I want to take a few minutes to go over our networking guide with you. So if you just give me a moment, I'm going to share my screen and show you some of the things that this guide is going to help you with. So first of all, what you're going to notice is that it's not really it is a networking guide, but what we really want you to remember is this idea of building community, because it's really that network of community members that are going to help you and support you. So if you think about not so much, I need to network, and rather, I need to build community, that's going to get you that much farther, because it'll be coming from a genuine place for you, and people will sense that. So what does all this mean? So first of all, we just like to talk about rep and that idea that our office is continually encouraging you to reflect, to explore, to prepare, and to pursue. And this networking guide is working with that in mind. So first and foremost, I'm not going to go through every bit of detail on this, but you can connect with people you already know. What's easy about this? You already know them, right? So it's a little more comfortable. Maybe they're friends of your parents, friends of family members, relatives, friends of your siblings. There's lots of different ways you can know people. Maybe they're people that you've worked with at your part-time job, but the bottom line is that these are people that you feel a connection to already. There's already something established between you, so it's that much easier to connect with them. And so when that's the case, we've given you a sample email format that you can reach out to them to set up a time to talk, and you're not asking for a job. You are asking them if you can just meet and explore some ideas with them. Keep that in mind. This is important. People get they're already exhausted when you're asking if they can get you a job. So this idea of building community means that you're going to talk to people, and eventually by talking to people, the job will come, or the internship will come, or that opportunity will come. But it's not going to come if the first thing that you put out is, I need a job. Just something, again, to keep in the back of your mind. So moving through this again, we also reach out many times to people that we don't know. And the way that we might come about them is that it's a friend of a friend, or it's somebody that we found on LinkedIn, or some other connection that we have. So again, we've given you some detailed information about reaching out to secondary contacts, and we have a secondary email sample. Now, here's the interesting thing you're going to notice. The email to the secondary contact, it's a little more formal, because guess what? This person doesn't know you. So when you don't know someone, it's always better to err on the side of being more formal than being too informal and shutting a door because people don't like that you're being overly casual. Finally, you need to prepare for this interview. So are you going to, what are you trying to get out of this conversation that you're going to have with these people? If you look at all of this, you need to do research on the company, the person, the field, whatever it is that you're going to be asking questions about. You're going to want to do things like arrive on time, or be at the Zoom meeting at the appropriate moment. So do all of these things that are going to show you're conscientious, you're thoughtful, you're thinking ahead, you're courteous, you're professional. You're also going to want to make sure that you're dressed professionally, so that you make that good first impression. We're not saying wear tuxedos, don't, but do wear something that is appropriate to the setting of the person that you're going to be talking to. So you can kind of find that out. Do they dress business casual? Is it business formal? What is it that would be appropriate? And that's all part of the preparation. And then when you actually get to the point of pursuing this interview, you're going to introduce yourself, sort of all the things that go into an actual interview, whereas this is more informational interview, but still you should treat it the same way. Here's some questions you can ask, because guess what? We're not going to leave you hanging. We've got some ideas for you. We've done this before. So we want to share that knowledge with you. Take a look at all these questions for primary contacts. It's really sort of interesting. The one thing that's different, not the one thing, but a major thing that's different between primary contacts and secondary contacts, because you know that primary contact a little bit better, you can ask about salary ranges and things like that. You can't ask them, how much do you make? Just isn't, it's not politic. But your secondary contact, you don't know them as well. That could be a question that would make them uncomfortable. So you shouldn't ask that of a secondary contact, not until you get to know them a little better, if then at all. But look at this, many questions. I want you to take a look at all of them, because there's some good questions there, and you need to decide which question is going to best fit the situation I'm getting myself into, right? Here we also have a list of questions for secondary context. And I alluded to this before, but basically they're very similar, except you're not asking anything personal of the secondary contact, because again, you don't have that relationship that you can ask a personal question, and potentially by asking a personal question, you might offend that person, and that's not the intent of building a network, right? So all of this information is there for you. Following up. This is so important. That's why there's all these arrows pointing to this box. You need to make sure you say thank you. You make sure you follow up. If you haven't already done so, you want to link with that person on LinkedIn. All of this is really important to making sure that the beginnings of this foundation of your community continues, because you've done a good job of following up. And then finally, one thing, and people ask about this a lot, so I'm going to sort of whoop, here you go. You need to maintain connections with your contacts. And as you see here on the screen, we're saying, you know, if you read a relevant news journal article, you see something on TV, you watch a documentary, you see something, you're like, wow, that's what I think that person that I talked to would be interested in something like this. Absolutely share that information with them. And something that was said earlier in the guide, but I think I'm going to highlight right now, is this idea of building a spreadsheet and keeping track of who you talk to, when you talk to them, and what you talked about. And that includes Zoom meetings, meeting for coffee if it's socially distanced, emails, any of this kind of contact that you're having. If you track it, you will thank yourself later, because you'll know what you've said and you can follow up with assuredness, right? Like, I know that this is what I said to this person, so now I'm going to follow up on this. And you're not going to make the mistake of sort of sharing the same article twice with somebody, because you already are tracking this in your spreadsheet. Another question people have is, how often should I follow up? We say every 3 to 4 months, unless something big happens and you say, oh man, I've got to share this now so that this person understands that I'm on top of this field of study or this topic, and I'm interested and engaged. So 3 to 4 months, unless something big comes up and you feel like you should share it. Bottom line, this is something easy to do. At the end, we always include all the links in our guides of things that we're using throughout the guide. So know that at the end of every guide, there's going to be this links page. But bottom line, I'm going to stop sharing here. That is it, right? That's our networking guide. But if you can remember, it's all about building community and making sure that you have people you can turn to and ask questions when you need them. And believe it or not, one day you are going to be that expert that someone is going to reach out to, and hopefully you remember how important community is, and you'll help that person build their community.